The Christian Wood trade is absolutely perfect for the Dallas Mavericks. Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of NBA Now. It's your boy Dom, and we're gonna get right into things here today. So today, we are talking about some NBA trades. Shockingly enough, I didn't make a trade video about the Denver Nuggets trade a few days ago, obviously being the first trade of the offseason to kind of kickstart things. But quickly afterwards came in the Dallas Mavericks, making, I think, a phenomenal move. I mean, when it compares to, we'll talk about the Denver Nuggets trade later in the video, just to get my thoughts out on it. But when it compares to it, it is a home run, and for a couple different reasons. But the Dallas Mavericks, which I think at this point you guys should know, this trade is a few days old by the time this video is coming out. But the Dallas Mavericks traded for Christian Wood. They traded for Christian Wood from the Houston Rockets, a guy that almost 20-point per game scorer. I think a guy a lot of people fell in love with when we saw him in Detroit kind of take the reins there and then go on to get a large sum of money from the Houston Rockets, when everybody also thought that was kind of a bargain for them, because Detroit themselves could have just kept Christian Wood for what they paid like Mason Plumlee and some other guys that aren't even on their roster anymore. So super interesting Christian Wood story. I mean, he's been all over the place, a guy that's been on more teams than I have on fingers on one hand, right? But he does move teams yet again, heading to the Dallas Mavericks to team up with Luka Doncic, a move that makes absolutely total sense, and makes even more sense just for it being Christian Wood in the trade. And I'm going to get to my perspective on that here in a minute. But I do just want to give props to both these teams. I think they came out of it at least somewhat winning by both teams. And as for my quick notes on the Nuggets trade, makes total sense. You freed up some money if you're the Denver Nuggets, and you got another first-round pick this year. Your 2027 pick shouldn't matter that much, especially if Jokic plans on re-signing and your team is still pretty young. So that's my thoughts on that. As for OKC, didn't make a ton of sense to me, but you pushed out. I mean, you got a guy that should be able to mentor whoever you get in there and can play some backup center minutes, obviously with them not having really a true center on the roster. But he should be able to help mentor whoever you do decide to draft at that position. And speaking of the draft, I will have a draft video coming out here in a day or two. We'll see before the draft, talking about one Jabari Smith, so make sure you guys keep a lookout for that. But yeah, OKC pushes that pick back till 2027. Probably won't be a high pick as well. And I mean, it's kind of a meh. Doesn't really do much for OKC in my opinion. So probably like a D for OKC. C for the Nuggets would be what I would grade those. But back to the Dallas Mavericks trade. It makes total sense why you would trade for Christian Wood. I mean, this is a team that was rolling out lineups with Maxi Kleber as your starting center in the Western Conference Finals. Somebody that nobody thought would ever be a starting center in the Western Conference Finals. Now, the West was pretty beat up this year. Very interesting how things kind of went down. I think had some injuries gone some different ways, had maybe some confidence gone some different ways. There could have been a lot of different outcomes that happened. But obviously what we did see was the Warriors make it out of the West and go on to win the NBA Finals. But the only team that they played before the NBA Finals was, well, not the only team, but the most recent team, you got what I meant, was the Dallas Mavericks. And the Dallas Mavericks didn't put up an insane fight. I think a lot of that was some of the James Harden copiness that the team had kind of molded around Luka Doncic, where it's like, hey, we're going to get perimeter playmakers. We want Dinwiddie, and we want Jalen Brunson to just make plays and get everybody else open, and then all the rest of you just sit in the corner and shoot some threes, play some defense. Dorian Finney-Smith to a T, right? Perfect player for this team. I mean, if you're talking untradeable for this team, it'd be Luka Doncic, and I would almost say Dorian Finney-Smith is kind of untradeable. Like, I say that with an asterisk on it. Like, you're not gonna, obviously, if somebody was like, you want LeBron for Dorian Finney-Smith, yeah, you would do the trade. But I'm saying in a sense of like, he's not gonna be a throw-in piece like he wasn't a throw-in piece in this trade to get Christian Wood. Now let's go over the exact details of the trade, because we've talked about this trade a lot, but if you guys haven't seen the details of the trade, let's look at those now. Christian Wood is sent to the Dallas Mavericks for the number 26th pick in this year's NBA draft. Boban Marjanovic, Marquise Chris, Trey Burke, and Sterling Brown. So, role players, right? Obviously, everybody loves Boban. Sadly, he lost his friend again. First it was Toby, now it's Luka. But I'm sure he will make some friends in Houston. It seems to be what he does, right? How are you not friends with a cool dude that's also casually 7'4", 7'5", right? Marquise Chris heads over there as well. I'm trying to think how young Marquise Chris still is. He might be still like 25. So for some backup energy center minutes, that's not awful if you do end up keeping him on the roster. If you are Houston, Trey Burke, not a terrible little point guard that can kind of get a little bit of offense going for himself. Obviously not fantastic. You know, he's not leading a team as your primary point guard, but a decent bench piece. And then Sterling Brown, a little bit of a 3-and-D guy, a little bit smaller at small forward-ish, is where he's going to play more. I think he's only about 6'4", 6'5", kind of in that Bruce Brown body style, but he can shoot a little bit better than Bruce Brown. And yeah, I mean, not bad, just filler guys, obviously, to make the money work for Christian Wood. Yes, teams open up a lot more money once you get to the offseason, but not only does it free up some money, but it also frees up some roster spots for the Dallas Mavericks as well. I actually did just find out when I was looking at some stuff about this trade a couple days ago when it just happened, was that summer rosters actually are up to 20 when normally your in-season roster is 14 or 15. I can't remember which one it is off the top of my head. I believe it is 15 for your in-season roster. So you have a little bit more flexibility. I assume a couple of these guys that were brought to Houston are going to get cut. But it does open up some stuff for Dallas if they, want to try and hit the free agent market running. But this trade can't go through until draft night. So whoever is drafted number 26th will be wearing a Dallas Maverick hat. And everything like that, because obviously first off the pick is via Dallas, and then the trade can't go through until upon that happening, but they'll be selecting whoever Houston wants them to select in that pick. That's just kind of how that works, in order to kind of get around the Stepien rule. So yeah, I mean, Christian Wood, 18 point per game scorer, rebounder, he can block some shots. He's not an amazing defender, but he can block some shots, and I think before we get into how well he fits with the Dallas Mavericks, I do just want to give a shout out to Rusty Buckets. I remember watching one of his videos, I want to say three years ago or so, maybe 2 years ago, where he was talking about the next star, and that was Christian Wood, and he hit it on the head. I believe that was right before his breakout season with Detroit. Obviously, we'd seen some glimpses the year before in which he had some data to go off of, and he hit the road running with that one. He's been on that back. I feel like he's backed off a little bit from what I've seen more recently, but obviously he started the bandwagon. So I think all the credit for media recognition of Christian Wood, a lot of that needs to go, not all of it, but a lot of it needs to go to Rusty for being kind of the first guy on it. So everybody gets made fun of for typing first or whatever in the comment section or something like that, but truly Rusty was first in that sense. And honestly, just wanted to congratulate him on that take, obviously. But yeah, Christian Wood, this is a guy that's going to fit perfect, right? He can space the floor, he can play center, he's a little bit bigger, he can block some shots. He's going to have that personality to help Luka score, right? Where it's like, okay, yeah, give me the ball in the post, let me go to work if you need. Not saying he's DeAndre Ayton or Joel Embiid or Nikola Jokic in the post, but he is good. He is good. He's on a cheap contract right now. We'll see if that does end up ballooning on a potential extension with the Dallas Mavericks. But I think he definitely improves his team. He's Maxi Kleber on steroids, if you want to call it that, right? It's exactly what you were running, but just better in every single way. And that is perfect for your team, right? Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, you didn't upgrade as much as you could have. Obviously, Rudy Gobert is a better player, and Clint Capella has, this last season not as well, but the season before, has shown, crazy defensive prowess and upside and everything like that. And it did shock a lot of people that more people didn't bite on this if it was just going to be a late first round pick and salary fill to get Christian Wood. And so I think that's what caught a lot of people off guard and why so many people kind of flooded to Dallas' side on it. I think Dallas easily won the trade. I would give Dallas an A on the trade. I don't like that they got rid of Bobby or they get an A+. That's pretty much, I mean, I think it was a phenomenal trade in my opinion. Because yes, there's those other options out there, but Clint Capella is going to cost a little bit more at this point. Now Christian Wood may end up costing more, but that's pending an extension or whatever. So at this current moment, also I think they're relatively on par. They just bring different skill sets, and Christian Wood's skill set absolutely matches exactly what Dallas wants to do, with Luka being the primary guy, playmaker, everything like that. And I think he'd fit in super well with what the team has already. Obviously he wants to win, so he's gonna have that drive, and he's joining a team that just went to the Western Conference Finals. So if there's anywhere that he really can, this is definitely gonna be one of those spots. Now it's interesting because you look back at how Porzingis was supposed to fit and everything like that, and Porzingis just kind of looked at in a similar way, but his aggression, I mean, just take it down simply to a defensive rebound, is so much different than Christian Wood's. Now all the best to Kristaps Porzingis and everything like that, but has had his struggles, and in places where I think Christian Wood excels. So that is one thing where I think Christian Wood's going to be super helpful for this team, being able to just do, like I've said, just do exactly what they want him to do, is huge. And then, like I said, a lot of people jumped in on the Dallas Mavericks side, said that they won the trade mostly, but I would still give the Rockets like a C minus maybe on this trade. A decent trade. You got a first round pick back. You got maybe a couple guys that can help fill out the roster, be some veterans, kind of teach you how to win maybe a little bit. Obviously, having gone to the Western Conference Finals, it's not like they won anything crazy. It's not like you're going to look at Trey Burke and be like, oh yeah, this is the guy I need to learn from. He knows everything about the league. You know what I mean? But a guy that's going to be knowledgeable. We've been around the league for a few years. Definitely you have to be smart to play the point guard position, especially if you're a little undersized, which he is. And then, yeah, I mean, super intriguing when it comes down to that. But yeah, I would say they still get like a C minus. Not a bad trade. Christian Wood didn't want to play there anyways at this point. They need to still figure out the John Wall situation. I think he's probably going to be sitting for another year, just waiting to kind of go pick where he wants to go at this point. But yeah, I mean, moving on from Christian Wood was a smart business decision, and it's going to help them in the long run, just because it'll give some of their younger guys like Sengun and whoever they potentially draft in the draft some more playing time, as well as get Christian Wood a more favorable situation for himself, in which he's going to fit the timeline, and he's not going to be 5 or 6 years older than the primary guys that are placed around him, right? So Luka having been in the league for a few years, yeah, he came in young, he was already super accomplished, but he does fit the timeline of them a little bit more, having them just gone so far in the NBA playoffs. So I think it makes sense for both teams. Honestly, I don't get as much of the criticism of Houston as I initially did. But if his value is that low, I don't know why I didn't get Christian Wood on my team. Obviously, I don't own a team or anything like that. But like, it does feel like they definitely got lowballed and just kind of took the trade for Christian Wood to get him off the team, rather than trying to get whatever truly was the best asset for them in that scenario. And I mean, that's okay. That's okay. You can't win everything by a landslide, and I think the Mavericks getting Christian Wood is a perfect fit for them, and I think the Rockets getting that first round pick is perfect for them, because it just fits their timelines exactly how they need to, and I mean, it works well for all parties involved. So nobody won by a landslide, nobody just destroyed the other team. It's not a trade we're going to look back and be like, oh yeah, they killed it. Like, they murdered that team. Now, if, say, the Dallas Mavericks end up going to the NBA Finals, and a lot of that is due to Christian Wood, yeah, we're going to look back and be like, you shouldn't have traded him. But then there's going to be the other side that can still look back and say, hey, but we got this guy. And what if the guy that they take at 26 is an absolute stud with that team? Well, we got this guy. How does that make you feel? You probably could have made the finals if you had this guy, but you didn't. You know what I mean? So there is going to be those two sides to it, and so I don't think it'll ever be a crazy killer trade unless at 26 it's really wasted by the Houston Rockets. Now, obviously gives them an opportunity potentially to move up in the draft, having, I want to say three, I believe I heard that they had 3 first-round picks at this point, pending on this, and so gives you the opportunity to move up and stuff like that, a little bit more flexible to get who you want to get on your roster. And I mean, we talked about how important the draft is, not only for now, but for the future of the league. Hitting in the draft is super, super important, and especially when you already have Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. and these guys that are good on your team. I mean, even the second-round guards that are kind of filling out the rotation, like Josh Christopher and stuff like that, it helps. So, yeah, I think it puts Houston in a favorable position. It puts Dallas in a favorable position heading into next year, without having to pay $50 million for a center that you're going to have to take off the floor to play the way you want to play anyways, considering you're playing a lot of small ball. So you wouldn't be able to keep a Rudy Gobert or a Clint Capella on the floor for that. But Christian Wood absolutely can step out, take those perimeter shots, and still come down and try and block some shots on defense. So, in my opinion, phenomenal trade. Super, super interesting. I want to see if Christian Wood can get back over 20 now that he's going to have an elite playmaker with him. I think that's part of the reason he dropped down to 18 this past year. But, yeah, I mean, good, super, super good player, super, super good value for the Dallas Mavericks in the trade, and still a smart trade by the Houston Rockets. So not a crazy amount of win-win trades that happen in the league, but this is feeling like it's going to be one of those rare occasions where everybody kind of made it out. Everybody got their coffee and donuts. None of the orders got messed up, and everybody can kind of keep moving, being happy. Yeah, somebody probably ordered something absolutely disgusting, but as long as they like it, and it works for them. You know what I mean? That was a really weird analogy. I feel like I was Shannon Sharp there for a minute. But yeah, no, I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you guys drop a like down below and subscribe for more. I, again, am going to be on vacation, so I will have a draft video coming out for you guys before the draft. And when I get back, obviously a ton of content will be coming out. We'll have the off-season coming right up. The draft will be done. There will be so much to talk about. It won't even be funny. Can't wait for that. And I do still have to get you guys that Zion news. So if anything else kind of develops in the next week, we'll talk about it then. If not, we might leave that on the back burner until we see a little bit more come out with that story. But with that said, hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe for more, and I'll catch y'all next time. Peace out, guys.